Hey up viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to Sir, You Are Being Hunted.
Oh,
Oh,
why is your vitality at 17? Oh my god,
oh well,
it's really low.
it's because I've got to
Oh,
eat,
better consume
unfortunately.
something. There you
I
go.
got canned pies. I've got pies for
My
days,
god, you're
Phil.
about to die.
Yes.
I think there's only been a couple of occasions, haven't there, where you've actually
Starved to death?
died from hunger.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
indeed.
because you've managed to top it up. Yeah, it's not really a difficult thing
No,
to
it's
keep
not.
topped up.
It's not,
But
yeah.
yeah, that was really low. Was this a map that you've been using? Is that why your vitality was so low?
Yeah. I think I've done the last couple of episodes on this one. It's been a while since my last Being Hunted recording sesh, but yeah, actually, come to think of it, looking at the stats here, I've got the 3 device pieces for this island already, but I might just chill and look through a few buildings and all that for various odds and ends and whatever else have you. But in the meantime, Phil, how are you getting on over there, old boy?
I'm getting on. I'm getting on well. I'm doing. When you, I just so when you start the game, do you health and vitality? Do they start instantly at 100?
Yeah, when you first start a game, they start at 100.
That'd be a bit unfair, wouldn't it, if they
Yeah,
started lower than that?
starts at
You just
25.
instantly die. Yeah, start at 2. That'll be our super hardcore challenge. Quick,
Super
find some
hardcore,
food.
yeah. Indeed. Random health and vitality. Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh, the random health and vitality. We could probably do that if you could manipulate the code
Yeah.
of the game. You could easily do that. You should get Den of Thieves to give you a special client where they can manipulate it for you and give
Yeah.
you like various challenges where they can alter the health and vitality and see if you can get like food before you actually die.
Yeah. I can remember actually, real RTCW's difficulty settings kind of have that kind of thing where if you're on not realism, I don't think it is, but certainly things like nightmare difficulty, it technically caps the maximum health that you can get to something like 50 or something. So yeah, indeed. So I'm sure there are games out there that do that
Yeah.
kind of thing, of limiting your
Yeah.
health, etc., etc.
Talking about games, thing that I've thought of, which is related to games, which is interesting. I've just been thinking about what sort of games that we've played, right? Where there have been events in the games that have been completely immoral, horrific, horrendous, sadistic. Maybe it's a character in the game who is just, completely awful.
Yes.
An immoral person, a sociopath, a absolute crazy bastard. Or it doesn't even have to be a character; it could be an event in the game that's just
Yeah.
completely horrendous. Just horrendous events in video games that
Indeed.
really sort of stood out. One
Yeah.
thing I would say is Edgar Ross, Red Dead
Oh
Redemption.
yes, that one.
Yeah,
Indeed.
always a fucking little manipulative bastard, isn't he?
Indeed. Yes.
He's really, really, he's really evil.
But then at least you get
Very
to
evil
shoot him at
towards
the end as it was what's his face's son, John.
Jack.
Yeah, Jack. That's
Yeah,
him. Yeah. God, I can't remember
yeah.
his name for a moment. Then I
So,
don't know
yeah,
why.
I can't believe it's not really spoiled because it's been out since 2010. But the fact that he forces you to go after your old gang members and keeps your family prisoner,
Yeah.
keeps your family prisoner. You have to go after all the gang members, and as soon as you've done it, he's like, "Oh, that's nice, thank you. Okay, you go away and live on your farm for a bit." So he lets him live on his farm for a bit, and he re-establishes a relationship with his wife and son, and teaches his son how to hunt and how to because he desperately wants his son not to fall into the life
Yeah.
that he led. He desperately wants that, so he's teaching him all these things. But his son keeps getting engrossed in adventure books and everything, and his father's not wanting that. But he gets all, and then eventually, when everything's going okay, oh look, Edgar Ross brings the whole military down to his farm and guns John Marston down
Yes.
dead,
That's the one.
and then yeah. Little idiot. So
Yes.
you get a lot of satisfaction, a lot of karmic satisfaction when you play as his son and go and gun him
Gun
down.
him
But
down.
unfortunately, yeah, it's going against everything that John wanted for his son.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, he's obviously started his life of crime,
Yeah.
which is not something that John wanted for his son. So it's quite sad that in a way as well.
Yeah. I think what makes that scene also kind of sad is that obviously it's by that time it's supposed to be like the year 1911, I think, if I remember correctly, which is
Yeah.
kind of really when the Wild West as a sort of period in history is kind of coming to a close because of course modernity is very much right round the corner.
That's the thing, and they're still trying to embrace it. Like Dutch, who's obviously the leader, doesn't like it at all that it's that all this modernity is coming in.
Yeah.
You can't stop change.
Indeed. But yeah, I'm trying to like think of moments in games where it's not so much the actions of like an antagonist or a different character, but moments in games where your actual protagonist does stuff that is sort of morally questionable. And I'm thinking, not so much games I've personally played, but isn't there like an infamous scene in one of the old Call of Duty modern ones where you basically go into an airport and you just shoot civilians, something like that? Was it
Oh,
Modern
okay.
Warfare
Modern Warfare 2. That is
2?
the infamous No Russian mission.
Ah, right.
You're basically disguising yourself as the agent who's working with. I think the main villain is Makarov,
Makarov, yeah.
and yeah, what happens is you go into the airport and yes, you gun down all the innocent people. You
Mm,
can choose not to do it, and they give you the option not to do it and let the others do it. But yeah, it was it was very well hated on
yeah,
that mission.
indeed. Yeah, I can imagine why that caused a lot of controversy back in the day.
A lot of controversy.
Yeah.
Something else that's caused big controversy for a recent game in Grand Theft Auto 5 was the famous torture scene.
Oh yes, that one.
Do you remember
Indeed.
that? Yeah.
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 I mean,
There were lots of, oh my God,
yeah,
lots of people had big furores against that.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, like I feel like GTA in general always puts you in morally ambiguous situations because technically you're usually playing as people who are criminals.
Yeah, or part of the criminal underworld. But
Yeah,
that one really got to people, just the fact that it was torture. And the fact that Trevor's statement in the end is torture is not a way of getting any information. And he
yeah,
was just doing it for fun.
indeed. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that whole section, obviously, in that game where you play as Trevor is itself morally dubious because of the fact that the character is a complete psychopath who is
Well, it's
dangerous as
supposed to
hell.
be the three characters supposed to depict the three general players of Grand Theft Auto. So
Archetypes,
you've
yeah.
got yes, you've got Franklin, who's the sort of one who's just starting into the journey and just starting the game and getting around everything, just doing. And you've got Michael, who's played it before, played it in the past, maybe gone away from it a bit, and has decided to come back and try again. And then you've got, of course, Trevor, the complete sociopath who depicts the people who just go around shooting everyone,
Yes.
blowing everything up. That's still how it was styled.
Yeah, indeed. But in fact, actually, an interesting example of player actions in a game being kind of morally dubious, and your player isn't necessarily a psychopath, but is someone who's fighting a war against an evil enemy, but their actions actually in a certain moment, if you think about it, could be sort of construed as being morally dubious. Do you remember in Wolfenstein: The New Order when you
Okay.
when you first used the spindly torque on the bridge at Gibraltar? Because
Oh God, yeah, yeah. That's
technically, that's a bridge that's used by civilians as well as military. So the implication or the inference one might take from that is that apart from military victims, there may well also be civilian victims in that.
yes, that's a good shout. That is,
Yeah,
yeah, because that is a very destructive ball. That
weapon.
the spindly talk. Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know. I wonder if they were thinking about that. There must have been some thoughts of that in the Kreisau circle.
Yes, it's an interesting one that sort of makes you question because obviously in those games, the Kreisau Circle has to very much take on basically the role of essentially an insurgent group that can only strike at kind of limited times and places because obviously they're massively outmatched. But then, of course, obviously they get the spindly torque and they have to just sort of use it however they can. And
Yeah,
the answer to that is, they just have to
keeping
strike
yourself
at high
hidden.
value targets. And in that case, it's a
The funny
target that
thing,
obviously does have civilian usage. Yeah.
I was just saying, the funny thing about the fact that their base was actually hidden in the very heart of Berlin.
Yeah, indeed.
Um, the, how did I can't quite, how did Frau Engel eventually manage to find them?
How did she manage to find them? I can't remember. Because it was after the mission where you go to the moon, and then you come back and it's like the Nazis have found it. But no, I don't know. Is it ever explained how exactly she finds it, or whether it's just she finds it? That's the key point. Just deal with it. I can't
Yeah,
remember. Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think. Like, was there a mole character or something? But I don't think there was, as far as I remember. No, I think
and
it's
she
just she
also
found it. Yeah.
there's the fact that in the Wolfenstein series, sort of about was abusive parents. We had
Yes.
two sets of abusive parents. Number one was BJ Blazkowicz's own father, Rip Blaskovich,
Yes.
who basically sold out his family to the Jews because his mother was a Jew,
Yeah.
and he basically sold her out to the Nazis.
Yeah.
And then it obviously when it did the past sequences with him and how much he manipulated BJ.
Yeah.
But then when he finally came to it, it just had enough and
Indeed.
just killed his own father. And of course, Frau Engel with her daughter,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sigrun.
Sigrun, trying to get her to kill, and then that's why all of that basically just made Sigrun join their side after that, 'cause she just couldn't deal. And the fact that there was a point, which is horrendous, where Frau Engel was actually going to get Sigrun euthanized because she was too fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. It's Frau Engel's a very fascinating character in video game history, just because she is, I mean, I think I've told you before how I once read an interesting article about the development of that character and how the devs actually basically read up on a lot of what are essentially like sociopathic behaviours, mannerisms and things like that, in order to sort of try and, just take inspiration. And because the thing is, like, I think I've mentioned to you before how some of the things that Frau Engel does are almost kind of like quite sexually inappropriate and sexually kind of domineering and aggressive. And apparently, from like what I've read, it's one of those things where psychopaths and sociopaths who obviously are sort of more charming and have kind of social circles sometimes will behave in ways where they use their sexuality as a tool of dominance and control. And in some ways, Frau Engel does do that when you sort of look at some of her behaviours, particularly like when like BJ Blazkowicz has been captured in the new Colossus, and just the way she like gets the pistol and like starts putting it into his mouth, things like that.
Oh my God! Yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
it's basically that. Yeah, indeed. And just the way she's almost like using flirtation as a tool of control, things like that. It's just like sexually aggressive and quite sexually domineering, quite vicious and horrible. Yeah.
The best thing I do find, the bit when you do finally get to kill her, is the fact that she goes ballistic because she basically goes, "You're supposed to be dead. Yes. I saw you die."
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, that's the point at which New Colossus does get very crazy. The fact that BJ actually does get beheaded and yet survives. Indeed, it's ridiculous. But do you know there's apparently a fan theory about that though? That apparently some fans speculate that in the New Colossus, the moment where BJ gets actually decapitated, everything from that point on in the game is actually just in his final moments of just his neurons firing and things like that. And there's a fan theory that says that none of what happens after that is real. It's all just, in his final moments of imagination.
You always have, it's funny with the theories you can see with various different games, isn't there?
Indeed. Crazy fan theories and all that, but I don't actually believe that fan theory myself, because obviously it's Wolfenstein and we know it's pretty crazy and out there. So
and we love it. We love Wolfenstein.
Indeed, yes. I'm trying to think though, are there any other games I've played where specifically your player character does morally ambiguous or morally strange things?
Well, you could say that for Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah.
When you play as Haytham.
Indeed, that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah, because obviously it plays Haytham as part of it. But what is good about Assassin's Creed 3 is it shows that the Templar Order's ideals and goals are not that much different from the Assassin Brotherhood in various ways.
Yeah.
Want order through control, whereas the Assassins want free will.
Yes.
But there are some aspects where they're talking to one another when Haytham and Connor team up, where their ideals and their alignments aren't that different.
Indeed. Yes. I should have thought of Assassin's Creed actually, because that does sometimes have moments like that where it makes you ask questions, things like that. Indeed.
Well, even more brought up in Assassin's Creed Rogue. The one where you Shay Cormac.
Shay Cormac,
yeah,
that's him, yeah.
He basically betrays the Assassins and joins the Templars, and it shows in that one that the Templars aren't quite as good and lovely and as we made them out to be.
The Temple. Do you mean the assassins? Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
said. The assassins.
Oh, yeah, you said Templars by mistake, but I think, yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I didn't, Andrew. Fuck off, you stupid
Actually,
little
you
bitch.
did.
Oh, I'm gonna put you over the hot coals and then burn you, and then put you on a rack and stretch you until your abdomen inflates and overflates and inflates and outflates and do blah 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 blah. Anyway,
what is this? A deviant art fetish artwork that someone made? Good lord.
what for inflation?
Inflation. You not know?
Inflate like a
Apparently
balloon.
That's, yeah,
Pop.
that's someone's fetish, apparently. Inflation fetishes.
Oh, no one likes inflation. Oh, it's all the rage of our prime ministers.
yeah.
Bloody inflation.
Indeed.
Disgusting.
Now that's a different type of fetish, ladies and gentlemen. Inflation is in the fetish for prices going up.
Oh God,
dear,
yeah, imagine
yes.
that. But yeah, so I'm just thinking that would be sort of interesting one with Rogue, the way it works like that.
Yeah, indeed. What else? What other examples can we potentially think of? Player characters who do morally ambiguous things. So like trying to quickly. I mean, technically, I can think of, for example, of games I've played where sometimes, you can technically play as the bad guys. I mean, like Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. Technically, you can play as the Axis, i.e.,
that's true.
the ones history deems to be the bad guys and all that.
Well, like I said, with Assassin's Creed 3,
Yeah.
you essentially play as the bad guy for a while, even though not really.
Yeah.
They both got each of their sides.
Indeed. Indubitably, yes. Absolutely. That's a good, interesting, actual thought-provoking topic, that.
What about that game oh my God, I've mentioned it a few times, but the game that's basically a little bit horrendous, where it's just the whole game is immoral, the video game, and that's Hatred.
No, Hatred. I'm not familiar with it too much. I know it's controversial, but...
Yeah, it's that game where you basically a sociopathic arsehole that just goes around killing everyone because he wants to.
Oh yeah, that reminds me as well, like Postal games as well, where you just go around killing people. Yeah, yeah, I'm not too familiar with them, but yes, indeed, that does fit the bill, just nicely.
I'm just thinking about sadistic villains as well, who are actually quite clever, and one that would fit that bill, GLaDOS.
GLaDOS, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, but then again, she's the villain, so you expect that one to be amoral, things like that.
Yeah, well, that's in a way, but that was the general topic I was bringing up as well.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just thinking specifically of things where it's you, the player character, who's doing the stuff.
But no, why have you changed my topic?
Because
it's more,
it's interesting as well to think about amoral player characters and all that. Everybody loves an amoral player character.
You can also have people who are. What about people who are nice but turn nasty and become moral? Like Wheatley.
Wheatley, yes.
But that's because he's controlled. But the AI gets put into the mainframe is the thing that causes them to become evil.
Yeah.
And that's why Wheatley becomes evil. But how can you find someone evil who's got Stephen Merchant's voice? Come on now.
Stephen Merchant, yes, indeed. Oh man, whenever I think of Stephen Merchant, I think of either Wheatley or I think of his brief cameo in Hot Fuzz, where he's Mr. Peter Ian Staker, Mr. P.I. Staker, Mr. Piss Taker. Oh dear.
I like when he does like the things with Carl Pilkington.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like the Ricky Gervais show. Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah, dearie me. Yes.
I believe that some of the player characters of the Infamous series.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, I believe that he's got superpowers, but basically part of him is evil as well. So that's one.
Yeah. I was thinking, for example, of controversial games like, was it Manhunt 2, where you go around torturing people?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Even actually things like Watch Dogs. Because Watch Dogs, you're essentially a hacker you can manipulate the whole grid. Even in Watch Dogs 2, you're part of the big what is essentially Watch Dogs version of Anonymous, DedSec.
Doing bad, sometimes morally ambiguous things like stealing from people's bank accounts, things like that. Yeah, that actually would fit the bill as well, indeed.
I've still yet to play Legion. Legion, I've heard, is pretty damn decent. I definitely want to give Watch Dogs Legion a try at some point.
Yeah, it's funny, the Watch Dogs series, because sometimes I find that the reviews of it, or not just critical reviews but also fan reviews, can be so sort of polarised. Some people really love it, some people really hate them.
Yeah, especially the first one. they thought. I think the best one in the series, people have raved a lot more about, is 2,
Yeah,
Watch Dogs 2. They found that one a lot better.
indeed.
Um,
Yes. Well, yeah. Guys, oh god, there's a rider right here, Phil, and he's being a bit of a
Rider.
problem. For some reason he's coming in this direction, don't know why. There's nothing over here, buddy, go away.
He's coming to say, "What are you talking about over here? Can I join in the conversation? I'm not an immoral person."
Indeed. He's like, oh, what's that? You're talking about amoral characters in video games? I'll show you an amoral character in a second. There you are. He's going away. He's lost interest, thank God.
What about? Because I still need to watch it, and I'm really sorry. Have you got any amoral characters in the Danganronpa series?
Oh, yes.
That are a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
You see, you got to think of those.
Indeed,
I know
yeah.
that. I remember from Trigger Happy Havoc, because that's the one I've watched the full extent
Yeah.
of. Byakuya is a bit.
Oh, Togami, yes.
Yeah,
So
he's a bit funny, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's basically the rich asshole who thinks everyone's beneath him and all that. But yeah, he's very satisfying in Trial 4 in that one when he gets his sort of comeuppance. He gets kind of, a bit of humility served up
I
to
need
him.
to. I'm so sorry. I need to just watch 2 and 3.
Yeah, you
again.
do. They are good games. They're really, really good. But yeah, the other ones, there are definitely amoral characters in them, and absolutely. I'll try not to spoil them for you, though. But yeah, there are some good ones in Danganronpa 2 and Danganronpa V3. So they're well worth a watch in that regard. Absolutely, yeah.
It's interesting we get characters like this because you can see how they do it. Sometimes it's actually interesting to play more as an antagonist, isn't it?
Yes.
Than it is, and
Though
when you get to do things.
Come to think of it, there was a Danganronpa fan game I played the prologue for a while back. They haven't released any other chapters of it yet. Project Eden's Garden, which actually does something very interesting because in Danganronpa games, typically, you always have like your protagonist who is always generally fairly sort of, well, morally rounded as a character. Like Makoto in the first game, who's like, don't lose hope and all that. And then obviously protagonists in the other games generally tend to also be sort of fairly morally well rounded. And they're always usually pitted against a more antagonistic character. But Project Eden's Garden is actually interesting in that technically your protagonist, kind of the roles are now flipped, and the character you play as is slightly more kind of not morally dubious, but certainly isn't perhaps driven perhaps so much by morality, and certainly perhaps has more of a sense of I am superior to everyone else. So that'll be interesting to see when they release more chapters of that fan game, how that character develops and things like that. So it's well worth a watch. Project Eden's Garden, ladies and gentlemen. I did about 8 episodes on it a while ago. Yeah. It's very interesting. The protagonist is called, I think it was called, what was he called? It was called, it was like Damon Maitsu, something like that. But yeah, he's kind of like the opposite of your typical Danganronpa protagonist, in that he kind of has very much an inflated ego of himself, and is like, not, instead of typically being like, we should all stick together and concentrate on the true enemy here, he's very much kind of an every man for himself sort of guy. So at least that's how he comes across in the prologue.
Yeah.
So very interesting, well worth a watch, like I say. But yes, God, yeah, I'm glad you actually mentioned Danganronpa because strangely I wouldn't have thought of that actually. But yes, it has a lot of good examples of characters who are very much relevant to this conversation. Absolutely, yeah.
There's all sorts of different things you can get in video games with playing like that, where it flipped the switch.
Yeah.
I suppose in RPG games such as the Elder Scrolls or Fallout, you could swing that way if you. It depends on how you play it.
Yeah, you
as
can play
well.
as a criminal, you can play as a bandit or whatever. You can be a lawbreaker.
Absolutely,
you can have the Oblivion guards coming after you.
And even with the in Fallout with the Nuka World DLC, you can basically join the Raider gang there.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting actual examples there. Yeah, it was a very interesting conversation to actually bring up, Phil. Quite a good topic, I would say. But
I just thought, because I know we've done a lot of video game talk, but I've just thought that one, which we haven't really discussed before, and it came to my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely on that one.
Indeed, yes. Yeah, I can't think of any other games off the top of my head though to talk about, so it might be a good place to
I think
wrap up.
good place to wrap up. And we'll come back to do some more later on.
Indeed, we will. Yes. Yeah, I need to think of fresh challenges and things like that. But actually, that is a good idea. I'm gonna.
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
no, keep, well, yeah,
Shoot,
yeah.
shoot. I may, I may bleep myself out there. Then, in that case, so that sorry, I accidentally just spoiled a challenge suggestion Phil made to me. Yeah, I'll make a note. I'll actually write down after this recording on the file, bleep myself out towards the outro, so that I'm not spoiling what that is,
Yeah.
because I can do that in Magics and all that.
Blah,
All
blah,
right.
blah, blah, yeah,
Yeah.
right, just skip to the outro in a bit now.
Indeed, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Facebook and links down below, along with the link to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. And if you enjoyed, a like is of course always appreciated. But other than that, this is the two of us signing off now. So thanks for joining me, Phil.
Aye, it's been fun.
Indeed. In that case, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Yeah, that probably sounds a little better, doesn't it? All right, let's get a move on. Let's head down here and see what the deal is. What the heck is going on up there? That looks like an eye. It's looking down across the area. Almost like a kind of searchlight. It's funny, isn't it? Because the architecture is almost kind of very, well, it's much more modern, I would say. And of course, obviously, it's based on ancient Greek mythology, so I'm kind of interested. It's got its own curious little sort of style, hasn't it? I do like that. So it looks like we're going down here. Apparently, the underworld is not what it was. Alright, so through the city we go then. So the gate might be our end goal. That's where possibly we need to get to.